Good morning, everybody. This is Pink Salt Shed TV, and I'm Kate Salter. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. That will be marvellous. Now, today is Friday the 23rd of April. I nearly said February then. That's because when I was rehearsing, February was just coming out left, right and centre. That tiny little pause meant that I knew I wasn't supposed to say February, and thank God it's not February. It's glorious out there today. You can see that the room looks quite dim because it's so bright outside, and I do hope it continues because I'm going out for supper later. I absolutely cannot wait. I'm sick. I mean, I love cooking, but I'm sick and tired of saying, what would you like for dinner? And then everybody saying, oh, you decide, as though it's a little treat for me to decide what we're going to have for dinner. It's like, no, I've run out of ideas. We have the same thing every week, so I can't wait. Can't wait to go out, and I've even had my hair cut as well. You might have noticed. Anyhow, I hope you've had a great week so far, leading into the weekend. And today we're joined by Anna Chalmers. Anna is known as the interior therapist. For years, Anna has worked. Anna has worked as an occupational therapist. So she's worked with individuals who have got a clinical need to change their environment and their space around them to function for their special need, or their in particular need. I don't mean special need, but it's a need that is unique to them. So Anna has worked with clients as a referral basis to make sure that she can set up their home environment or workspace in particular for them. And with her love of interior design and interior styling, Anna has worked to work towards working with clients that have a want for her professional ideas, thoughts and understanding of what we can do to help ourselves in the environment around us. I kind of think, happy space, happy face, that kind of thing. So we've had our sort of health and well-being week a couple of weeks ago, which was very much focused on how we kind of live to look after number one, the breathing, the meditation, the nutrition, the fitness, looking after ourselves before we can extend it to others. This is about the spaces that we live in. So it can be about us in particular, but it also can work around couples and families and what she can bring to them to make sure that they live their best lives in the four walls that they're in. And I think at the moment, especially over the last year, there has been a lot of need for Anna's expertise, because when it comes to the fact that we've been shut inside for so long, okay, the weather's getting nicer now, but being shut inside for so long, many people have probably thought about their house project and what they want to do and how they want to change the four walls that they're in, whether they just want to declutter and do things like that, or whether they're changing the colour of the walls and things like this. So let's say hello to Anna and let's see. Good morning.
Hi.
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Perfecto. Thank you very much for joining us today. Now, the little short intro there focused on you being an occupational therapist by profession, and with your love of interior design and styling, how you created the interior therapist, which morphed from helping people with a need to helping people with a want to enhance their spaces and their environments. Tell us how you kind of got into the occupational therapy and then how you morphed it into what it is today.
Yeah, so I qualified as an OT back in 2003, and I've been working clinically ever since then. So my sort of day job is rehabbing in neuro OT, and I work with a lot of head injury clients predominantly. And I think it's been quite interesting because over the years there's been a bigger and bigger sort of role in adapting houses and stuff within my OT work.
Yeah,
And because I'm really interesting, I've kind of looked for that kind of work. So it's something that as OT we do when we train. We're taught how to assess, design, and look, plan people's properties.
hmm,
And it's something that I've always loved. So I've kind of gone down that route. And yeah, I think this year being at home with all the lockdowns, it's definitely something that's become much more apparent as a need for a lot more people.
yeah,
So although I do it within my OT work, I think you mentioned just then, originally I kind of started with accessible interiors where it was working with people that had sort of specific needs
yeah,
that maybe couldn't necessarily access OT via the NHS. So I've started kind of offering help for people like that. But then with the lockdown, it's just become more apparent that actually just lots of people just need some help. They just want their
yeah.
environment to work for them. And I think it kind of started really because I was asked to do some stuff, some videos for a anxiety charity,
Hmm.
and give people some support and make them sort of have a look at their house and see how that can make them feel more relaxed and calmer. So it kind
Yeah.
of started from there.
It's like
And yeah, I just
it's how to use the space that we've got.
yeah.
So I suppose in a room, in a house, you've got different rooms. How to make each room work for the purpose that it's there for. So you might have a downstairs bedroom or an upstairs bedroom. You create whatever room you want in the rooms you've got available, but it's how to make sure that that space is conducive for its usage, whether you've got home office or bathrooms and that kind of thing.
Yeah, completely. I think that's sort of the key is everybody is individual and everyone has an individual needs and wants. And I think it's being understanding what it is you need from your home and sort
Hmm.
of doing what you can your home to do that for you. And I think that's the thing that I've sort of been helping people with is just sort of really understanding what you need. And I also think that it becomes really apparent, especially with the lockdown and stuff, like how those needs can change. And we
Yeah.
kind of need to be able to adapt our homes because I think like I've got quite young kids, but and what I need from my home now with the young kids will change as they get older when they need a bit more privacy and they're a bit more their own
Yeah.
space. So I think
Yeah.
it's really interesting to just really understand what you want from your house and
It's
how
true.
what function you need from it and then how you set that up.
I mean, you mentioned that you've got young children. So my children, one was born not in the house, but we were living here whilst we were in the house, and the other one was really, 17 months old when we moved over here. So everything used to be sort of at a high level, nothing too
Yeah.
low level unless it was their toys. And now, of course, they're sort of nearly eye height. This is 13, 14 years on. And now they've all changed their bedrooms around. Oscar's in the loft,
Mm.
Evie's old room. They've got different things that they need out of life. So, everything is now sort of gone back down to ground level because there's so much more all over the place. But things change as we get older.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, given the example of the heights you were just talking about, I think that's quite
Yeah,
interesting in terms of kitchens because you're at the stage when you've got young kids and you kind of don't want them to reach anything.
yeah,
And then you get to the stage when they get a bit older and you want them to be a bit more independent and maybe get their own snacks and
yeah.
stuff. So
The
then you need to
cereal,
change
yeah.
everything. They
Our
they
cereal
can
is
reach.
on a high shelf. They haven't been able to get it, and now it's like, do your own breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just about constantly looking at your environment and changing it based on what you need it to do for you.
Hmm.
And I think if we can do that, it makes us function better and our space is more efficient. And that then makes us kind of more relaxed, calmer, and more efficient way of living.
It does. I
So
mean,
that's a lot.
you mentioned relaxed and calm, and I think I mentioned in the trailer the other day. My husband walked through the front door and into the kitchen, and it can be just a little mini bubble of chaos right there. And then and what I try and do is if this is the busy room, I make sure that the sitting room, the sofa's looking nice, that there's dog hair that I've vacuumed off of it, that things are put where they should be. So when we've sort of stopped chatting so much and we sit down and relax, that the sitting room is a more sort of relaxed space. So I suppose, and I mean, I guess in the last year, we probably could have all done with you literally coming into our homes saying, oh my God, I don't know how you function in this space, because with four people in it, in my family, four people in it, it's almost cluttered because the kids are now at head height. There seems less room. So it's about, it's trying to stop the feeling of being on top of each other, through probably going through the cleansing process of getting rid of everything. That would be very cathartic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting talk about that because I've recently done a renovation on my house, and we were adding an extension. This is the bit I'm sat in now,
Yeah.
but also I decided at the point of doing that I wanted to change the front layout of the house and the hallway in order to allow a bit more flow and room. Because for me, one of the things I hated was when everybody walks through the front door and you're all on top of each other and you're kind of like, there's no space.
Yeah, and
So
there's
we
shoes, and there's coats, and there's bags, and everything
dogs
just
for each
gets
other at the
dumped.
door.
Yes, yeah, yeah, I know
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, so I mean, not everybody's in the position where they can actually do renovations and change the whole layout, but for me, it was really important that we actually changed the whole sort of layout of the house, by sort of making a walkway so that you can walk right the way around the entire house and through, so that we can all almost different ways, so that it's
Yeah,
so you've got a lot more space. Because I think it's what's important to you is so important. But yeah, that feeling of everybody being on top of each other, I think when we've all been at home for so long, has been quite difficult. So
yes.
I always sort of talk a lot about zoning spaces and having different, even if it's in one room, zoning one end of it so that it's got a different function to the other
Yeah,
end.
actually, I can relate to that because our sitting room is quite long. So we've got a desk space at one end of it, and then we've got an L-shaped sofa, which kind of creates the back of the sofa creates a
Yeah,
divide between the two spaces. How we keep it all together is we've got a really massive rug on the floor, so it's one room, but it's got two areas of usage. So yes, I understand
yeah,
that. In fact,
yeah,
a lot of people watching this or that are thinking about how to do things in their homes, many people will turn to magazines to look at these things. Would you say that how magazines portray spaces is what you would kind of um, advise people to do, or do you think it still has to be you can't just take an idea out of a magazine and translate it into your own home and just hope for the best because it is quite individual?
yeah. I think it depends. I think it's a really good place to start, and a lot of the sort of basic information that they give you in magazines and stuff is will apply to most people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it depends on sort of what your situation is and what your need is. And I think there's a little bit more than that. So that's a really good starting point. But I think sometimes you could go a bit deeper than that. So, for example, there's lots of advices about bedrooms to promote sleep and stuff, but it kind of depends on what your issue is with sleep, whether you have difficulty
Okay.
falling to sleep in the first place or whether you wake up in the night, that kind of thing. So, it's all very individual, and so I think it's a really good starting point. But sometimes there's a bit more you can go into. So, for example, even just the height of the bed might affect some people, the type of mattress you have, the
Mm-hmm.
position of the light that through. It's definitely I think with magazine articles that are written about this kind of stuff are generally really helpful. But I think sometimes there's a little bit more that could be added
I think you're right. I
when
mean,
you actually understand.
yeah, when you look at magazine articles, they're very much about colours and, the fabric of the bed linen, for example, put a plant in the room. But actually, it might be as simple as keeping a window open. And it
Yeah,
might be as simple, or it might be as more complex, like you say, actually, that you can't write in a magazine, I
yeah,
suppose. That, the height of your bed, the clutter that might be around it, put your clothes away, because you've got to get to know the individual and what their habits are
yeah.
in their rooms to know how best for them to actually address the issues they've got.
Yeah, definitely. I just think, with my experience as an OT, it's always when you go into a home and you work with somebody and you understand what their issue is, I might sort of speak to a client and think, oh, I know what I'm going to suggest to them. But then
Mm-hmm.
when you actually understand how their life works, it might be that someone gets up at 6 o'clock in the morning, someone gets up at 9. There might be real differences that actually, that you can't just be simple advice that you give them. There might be much bigger
Yeah, but
uh,
lots of different stuff going on. In fact,
going
talking to
on.
you now is making me think about, instead of, to me, I'm thinking about the colours, and how you position things nicely. I'm thinking about the frilly, fluffy, nice stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, with your occupational therapist, head on. There's so much more to it, and I'm actually, the cogs are turning, thinking, crikey, yeah, you could think about this, you could think about that, you could have to sort this out. There's actually so much more
Yeah.
to it.
And I think for me, it's always about the feel of the room.
Mm-hmm.
I always So it's not so much. So for example, a lot of people recommend that bedrooms should be sort of dark, either like dark colors to create a cozy feel, or calming sort of neutrals or pale blues kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it kind of depends what you like, doesn't it?
Well, it
So
does.
if that's not your tea, that advice isn't really going to work for you at all, is it? So
Exactly.
it's got
So
to.
that's where you come in to consult with people and ask the questions. I mean, do you have like a questionnaire that you give people? Do you have to go into people's houses as well, or can photographs do that better?
No, yeah, I because of lockdown, I have started to work remotely, and I can do that. I quite like to go into people's houses. It's kind of what I've done for a long time, and I like to feel and see everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I can do it remotely in videos, people doing little tours,
Yeah,
or
that works.
sending those kind of it. That's fine. It does work. Yeah, but it's always nice to kind of really understand
Yes.
the house, because when you do sort of things over Zoom and stuff, you can't always see the whole picture. People
No,
quite
you
often show
can't, because
you
they'll tell you what. I mean, if I was to sort of pan around my room, I wouldn't really want you looking at what's over there and what I can see, and
yeah,
that's all right over there.
exactly.
And behind me is like there's enough space that I've cleared everything basically away to the sides, so it looks all right.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yes,
Me
I would
too.
probably be quite selective with what you saw, or I'd tidy it up first, and it will give you a false
Yeah,
representation of what it is that my house is actually like.
yeah,
So so tell
definitely.
me, so with your occupational therapy, you work with people that have a need for you. So just describe some of those needs that people might have.
So with my occupational therapy work, I mean, I think what is really important for me to get across when I sort of do when you talk about occupational therapy and helping people with their homes, is that it isn't all physical needs, which I think a lot of people
Yes.
think. And so when I started up Accessible Interiors, I was getting a lot of people needing physical help, which is absolutely fine, and that's what I do,
Yeah.
people in wheelchairs and stuff. But I also do a lot of work, as much as I do with the physical stuff, with the cognitive stuff.
Okay.
So people that have mood disorders, people that have problems with memory or something like that. So if somebody's had some kind of illness, neuro condition, or anything like that, or even mood issues, it can really impact on your memory and your fatigue and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it's really important to sort of understand that it's more than just the physical side of things. So sometimes I'll help people just with things like the organization of running their home, or sort of remembering things. So for example, a classic OT thing that we do is that we tell people to use a whiteboard to write down things they need to remember before they
Yeah.
leave the house.
Yeah.
So for example, if there's something they need to go and buy. But in terms of sort of making things a bit more stylish, and people don't always want those kind of things, they kind of say, but I don't want that in my house, it doesn't look very nice.
Yeah.
So that's where I might recommend things like in my house, I've got a chalkboard wall. So when the
Yeah.
kids were little and I needed to remember things for school, I would write on the wall,
You could
and then
write
you could
up
just
high
wipe
and
it
they'd
off
write
once you've
down
done
low.
it. Or yeah, and yeah, they would quite often write notes like, "Don't forget, Mum, I need this." And then I've got sort of like a big planner, like a chalkboard planner that I can write on for their clubs and the times and things
Yes.
like that. It's kind of having things that work for you, like memory aids and visual aids, but that you can kind of fit into your house and routine, that you kind of feel okay with, and that you don't think, oh, I resent the fact that I need that in my house.
Yeah. So
But
actually,
so a lot of, yeah.
so you need to have a lot of ideas in your bank of ideas. So it's like, well, what about this?
Yeah,
No. What about that? No. What about that? No.
yeah,
You can't.
it's
Gracious me.
completely like that. Everybody, so I might see people with sort of similar difficulties, but people like different things. So what works for one doesn't necessarily work for another. And a lot of people that I work with maybe forget things or lose things. So
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people sort of have this, leave things in the same place. So you walk in the door, you put your phone in a certain place, and losing keys and stuff is a big thing. So I quite often will recommend the smart locks, because they're quite good. You can just open it on your phone.
Yeah.
Because it always amazes me that young people, it's really funny, they lose their wallets, their keys, everything, but they never lose their phones. So
Yeah,
they're
it's
so
true,
attached to their
actually.
phone
It's true.
these days.
Yeah, well, my daughter lost her phone, although I don't class that as a particularly important thing. But she lost her phone, and she went to a friend's house, and I was constantly getting messages from her friend, please look here, please look there. And actually, in the end, I found it in between some clothes where she'd packed her stuff to go. Her phone had just got in between some clothes, but it was just,
Yeah.
it was quite traumatic for her. For me, it was fine. She's really young. She doesn't really need one. But it was just a case of, yeah, so she lost her phone. But us adults,
Yeah.
we're attached to our phones. Well, where's mine at the moment? Actually, where is mine? Oh, no, here. Right in front of me. Honestly, it's right in front of me. But yeah, we don't lose our phones, do we? Keys.
But
I lose
also,
my keys. Oh, all
yeah.
sorts.
But I work with people as well, like with visual problems. So it's then really important to look at, quite often they will have some element of vision, but not full vision. So it's then really important to think about where you're putting things so that they can see it, and how the light that might be coming in might affect their vision.
Yeah, that's
I do work, yeah, I do a lot of work in bathrooms. And again, it's really important to get the lighting right in bathrooms, especially if you want to shave or do your makeup in the mirror. So you need to have good enough light to be able to see clearly. But also I also recommend things like with tiling, and I think it's on one of my Instagram
it is. In
posts.
fact, well, it's on here. Let me just show.
Oh, is that
Um,
it? Yeah.
so there we go. Is that the one you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a really lovely image. That image is actually from Pinterest, but it really clearly sort of shows how you can use tiling to highlight a particular sort of place or space.
Yeah.
Because quite a lot of people I work with, they can often have visual problems or visual like depth perception issues. So they can't always kind of see or judge the space. So they might walk into a shower cubicle, but maybe sort of think they're standing under the water, but not be fully under the water when it's running, or not be able to see the shower controls.
That's right.
So
Actually, I was
sometimes,
just about to say, so the coloured wall, or the more coloured wall, that's the wall where the shower controls are. So that will
yeah,
help them identify where things are if they can't see. And at least, I suppose,
yeah,
the brighter it is as well, if you think about it, could help people wake up that little bit more. It's a bit more
yeah,
vibrant. So you can afford to
definitely,
do that in a shower space, maybe in a bath space. That might be where
yeah,
you have the little thing over the bath. You have a couple of candles on it to try and relax you, which is more
yeah.
fitting, I suppose, for the end of the day, something like that.
Yeah, and I think it's just sort of all the little bits like that, and you can have different tiles on your floor if you've got a little step into the shower or something, so that it's really evident where the step is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think I know, like in my bathroom, I've got different lighting. So I've got lighting that I use to look in the mirror and sort of if I'm waking up in the morning. But then at evening, I've got like a light, like a lower level light.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's calmer sort of. I can have a calmer light at night so that you're kind of, it's helping you to relax. So I think it's
Yes.
just sort of understanding what you want from the space, what the function you need it to do for you, and then how you're going to make that work.
So would you say that there are sort of categories of space, sort of, well, categories that you work in? So there's lighting, there's colour, there's texture. Sort of expand on sort of those areas, and then I mean, of course, you can break all of those down into smaller elements, but the broad spectrum of what you look at.
Yeah. So what, in terms of if I was sort of working with a client, what things would I look at, do you mean?
Yes, so you've got a client who's got a specific need. If you look at sort of the sort of the colours, the textures, the fabrics, and then you look at little sort of subsections after that. Is that how you would
Yeah.
kind of be methodical about your work?
I would probably more do it room by room, I think,
Okay.
and then cover those areas room by room, because each room in the house generally has a different function, doesn't
Yeah.
it? So what they need from it would be different in each room. So the texture, so yeah, but I would look at things like textures. I mean, textures are very sensory, and a lot of people really respond well to lots of sensory
They
textures, so
do.
smell
Yes, they
and
do.
so it would be like, yes, there's certain spaces you might want to relax. You were saying about how you try and keep your living room quite a relaxed space, so that if
I
even
try.
if the rest of the house is hectic, I try as well. That's what I try and do in my house. But I try and keep that nice and sort of cool and relaxing and calm and sort of organized. So I
Mhm.
might have a lot more textures in there, because that's the room where you want to sit and relax. So that's where I'd have all the cushions and the throws and stuff like that. Why And so the lighting might be quite low. So I'd kind of look at a room by room, I think, and then look at all those things you mentioned, like the lighting, the textures, the space, how you've zoned it, all those things, the flooring, all that would come per room, I would say, and it
Do
would be
you,
different.
yeah, do you focus on things like diffusers, as in, you know, not the vaporizer ones necessarily, but different
Yeah.
scents for different rooms as well?
I think I haven't really done it so much for different rooms, and I think it depends on people. Some people don't like that kind of thing at all.
Things are really, I think they're very chemically sort of, they're very harsh kind of smells.
Oh,
They're quite like the reed diffusers. You know, I
yeah,
mean, for example, in a bathroom you might like to sort of go for the clean kind of smell. In the bedroom, something more jasminy, or garden room, something a little bit more jasminy, sort of floral, so it's got a note of the garden in the garden room, I guess, whether you've got the door closed or open.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, I do recommend diffusers quite a lot, particularly in the bedroom when if people struggle to sleep. I find one of my sons can struggle to fall to sleep quite quickly, so he uses a diffuser quite a lot. And I think, I mean, I'm not an expert in the different oils and scents, but I think it's
Yeah.
finding which ones you like and which ones work for you.
Well, that's
But
the thing. I mean, you can have a lovely, you know, lavender is very conducive. Lavender is supposed to be, actually, I digress slightly, the number one scent that men love. I mean, who knew?
is
Yeah, I know, weird,
it?
weird. But with lavender, I really don't like the smell of lavender. I find it a little
Yeah,
bit choking. So that to me wouldn't go anywhere near my bedroom because I just think, ugh, I just don't like it. But geranium is a lovely oil. But we get slightly, you can, I don't know lots about sort of aromatherapy or oils either. But if you find something you like, so my point about not
yeah,
liking lavender doesn't mean I'm automatically going to just put it in my bedroom because it's supposed to help with sleep. I don't like it, so it wouldn't help me sleep. So it is very much a, you've got to try
yeah,
and test it.
exactly.
Yes, got you, got you.
Yeah, definitely.
So imagine we've got a typical house. Give us one or two things that you might tell us to do generally in each of those rooms. So for anybody listening, they might think, oh, I don't really know where to start. What sort of one or two things that would be a generic for most people that you've identified, that you've done before, that people might like for their spaces?
I think for the kitchen, the main thing for the kitchen will be about decluttering and keeping the workspaces as clear as possible. Because
Oh,
if you think,
wow.
I mean, everybody's different, and some people like the more maximalist look and like to have things around them, and some people don't. But if you think of the kitchen as a workspace, like we have worktops, and it is a workspace, really, isn't it? You're
Supposed to
doing
be.
something in there. It's a
Yeah.
yeah.
They're not like
So,
storage shelves, are they, really?
and if you think about your home office maybe being a workspace as well, you would kind of expect your home office to have a clear desk and somewhere where you can sit down and work and you've got room to put things. So I kind of feel the kitchen should be the same. It should be
Hmm.
considered as a workspace. So it's about making sure that you don't have too much clutter because it's a space that you need to be able to think quite clearly. It's a busy space, lots of people use it. So I think the decluttering is quite key for the kitchen. I think that would be my main recommendation for the kitchen. And then it would be looking at where you're putting everything and what cupboards you're putting things in, whether your bins near to the sink maybe, or I think it depends on the shape of your kitchen, doesn't it? But working out how you can organize your kitchen so that you don't have to walk around too much and that everything is where you need it to be.
I was just about to say,
But
you know, kitchen designers sort of generally put the fridge, the sink, and the oven in a triangle. So if you can
yeah,
fit things in between and identify
yeah,
sort of the path of least resistance for when you're moving around the kitchen, then that's going to be conducive to just a better flow and a better feel and a more relaxed sort of, instead of walking around things left, right, and centre,
yeah,
it will feel better for you. And if you've got less clutter on your work surface, each time you go to prepare something or do something, you're not tidying up at the same time, which of
yeah.
course makes the job. Oh my God, you know what I'm on this afternoon? Work surface duty. But it's something that you don't have to tidy up before you do something because you can just get it done. And I suppose actually at the end of the evening, or what I find I enjoy, I don't enjoy it, but instead of leaving stuff in my kitchen from having done the dinner the night before for the next morning to clear up. Clear up as you go along. My husband would love me to say that, well, to do that. Clear up as you go along. He tells me to do that, which I kind of think I do. But clear up at the end of supper, and then you're walking around your kitchen, or when you come down to it the next morning, it's a space that actually makes you feel great for the next day, not like, oh God, I've got to do this, that, and the other, I suppose. So how you working those
Yeah,
spaces as well.
yeah. I do think that's quite important if you can. I mean, it's easier said than done, but
Yeah,
having things that organised and nice and fresh when you come down in the morning does start the day a bit better, doesn't it?
it does.
But I think in terms of other rooms of the house, I think the bedroom's another one where you don't want too much clutter, because I think it's important to remember as well is that we can get easily overwhelmed and sort of overstimulated by seeing too much. So when you're trying to go to bed at night and you want to wind down, seeing lots of things that are reminding you of what you need to do is not going to help. So you kind of, if you've got lots of stuff in your bedroom, you kind of want to put it in lidded baskets or put it away somewhere so that it's not something that's stimulating you and overwhelming you when you're trying to relax.
Well, for me,
Um,
something that doesn't make me think, oh my God, I've got to do this. I've got to, everything
yeah,
is on, basically everything is on my to-do list. And if I'm thinking about this, that, and the other being on my to-do list, I'm thinking about what I should be doing other than sleeping, probably.
yeah, exactly. So the bedroom has to be clear, really. I think in order to get a good night's sleep, we need to have things out of our visual field so that you can't see everything that's going on around you. And I think it's really important to remember with bedrooms, things like the temperature is really important.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't want to be cold, but we don't need rooms too warm, because you'll wake up if you get too warm. So you want it to be slightly cooler. And that's quite important. And then obviously having sort of curtains that will keep the light out so that you're not woken up. Well, it depends whether you want to be woken up by natural daylight or not.
Well, yeah, but this gets into this is what typical people like, as in a
Yeah,
darker room in the mornings is better because you're not going to wake up too early. Now, specific individuals might think that that's great. They will then wake up more gradually, but that's where you get into the specifics, the specific needs people have. But in a bedroom, I mean, I quite like having the window open. I mean, I've slept in houses that are more modern houses that have got the double glazing, and to me that keeps a stuffiness in the room. And of course, we can get hot and sticky, and it's just, I hate that kind of stuffiness. Whereas having a window open, put a thicker duvet on, hunker underneath the duvet, and you'll keep nice and warm. But having that breeze over your face, or that feeling of just that cool air, I think is lovely. I think I really quite like that. I couldn't not sleep with the window open, I don't think.
yeah. I guess it depends on where your house is located and whether you're next to sort of busy roads or something, doesn't it? So I guess for some people that might not work for them. But yeah, it's just, I think being cool at night is actually quite important. I think not everybody always realizes that. And just things like having sort of a good mattress is really quite important as well, really.
Yes.
I think people kind of forget about that, but your bed needs to be somewhere where you feel comfortable, really, doesn't it? And relaxed. And I think, where you position your bed is also quite key. Ideally, you should have a bit of space around your bed so you can get in and out quite
Yeah.
easily, and you want to be able to get to the door without tripping over anything if you need to get up in the night. So I think, yeah, sort of having a space in your bedroom, sort of easy paths to the bed and to the door, and having it kind of clear of lots of clutter is the main thing for the bedroom.
Yeah, I mean, clutter. I mean, if you have sort of like you mentioned baskets with lids on and things like that, you can have loads of stuff. But if it's all
Yeah,
kind of a bit more
put it away.
organised and arranged, then you can have stuff, and it's not alerting the fact that you've got to pick that sock up. There's that shirt over there. There's this and that you need to
Yeah,
put away. You can have. There are ways of doing things without having literally nothing in your room. So the minimalist might suit some people, but if you've got lots of stuff, you can still have that sort of busier environment, but have it more ordered.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I mean, we all have quite a lot of stuff, don't we?
Oh my
So
God. Honestly,
it's hard. It's not
I've
that
got
easy
loads
to
of things.
just get rid of everything, but it's just.
We've tried to
I think
do
it's just
some
having a
through.
place for everything, isn't it? As well.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I always say that this house hasn't got it. We live in an old cottage and we don't have much space for things. But my husband's answer is, well, let's just get rid of it then. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't mind. I don't want to get rid of these things because we use them. It might be infrequently, but I use it.
Yeah,
So I've got an ice cream maker. I've got two actually. And he was just like, well, if you don't use it, get rid of it. And it's like, no, I use it, but I might use it 5 or 6 or 10 times a year. But whilst I'm not using it, it
yeah,
needs a space to live. We need to go and get rid of something else so
yeah.
you can keep room for that. Then it's, it's like talking to a brick wall.
But I
But
think
yeah,
it's about deciding. Sorry, I think it's about deciding what is key to have in your space. So to say like an ice cream maker, you know you don't use it that much.
yeah.
So does it need to be in one of your kitchen cupboards that you go to frequently, or could it
Mm-hmm.
maybe go in a cupboard in the garage or somewhere where you know where it is, you can go and get it, or in a top cupboard that you never really go in? So I think it's like working out what things, whether it's the kitchen, the bedroom, whatever, what things are really important, what you need to use day to day,
Mm-hmm.
and what you want to keep, but that can be put away somewhere.
Yes, actually, yeah, you're right. You might not have everything in your kitchen that is that is for your kitchen, but as long as you have spaces and can identify things and
Yeah.
remember where you put them as well, that actually
Yeah.
that actually yeah, that can be something that
Yeah.
I need to write down, things like that. So when it comes to the kind of thing you address, it's like you've mentioned, that you've got the people that have got physical needs. So I suppose that could
Yeah.
even be the heights of shelves and things like that.
Yeah.
You've also got those that have sort of mental issues going on. So let's say you've got somebody who's quite anxious and just in a bit of a worrier, has anxiety, high stress, because it might not be what goes on around them, as in it might be more that they're manifesting their own. Would a calm, decluttered space? How can people? Sorry, I'm mincing my words here, or mixing my words. For somebody who finds it difficult to have clear thought, how are they then supposed to start clearing what's going on around them if they haven't got the space to think about these things?
Yeah. So if they feel quite overwhelmed by the thought of
Yeah,
putting it into practice, do you
yeah.
mean? Yeah. I think the best thing to do for that would be to start really small and
Mm-hmm.
just say start. It depends what area you want to start with, but say if it's the bedroom, like maybe just start with one drawer, make
Okay.
the task really small. I mean, as OTs, we talk a lot about sort of graded exposure and sort of breaking tasks right down. So it would be very much like you find one element of the job that you want to do and
Yes,
start with something really small.
I
Take it a
suppose
little bit at a time.
get the client to identify the one thing that would make the biggest difference in the soonest time frame for
Yeah,
them to then be able to move on to the next thing. So I suppose all of this isn't just a you come round, sort out, and then you leave people to get on with it. Is it a process that you follow along with them as well? And you give by, in 6 weeks' time, let's just say you want to have done this, this, and this. So it's not something that you're going to do over just a weekend, for example.
no, I mean it would depend on the person probably, but it might be that I could give them ideas and give them sort of like plans or set goals with them, and it could be that
Yeah.
they could then put them on themselves and feel that they can. Depends what the person feels they could manage, I guess. But yeah, it's very much breaking it down and doing what they feel able to realistically do. Because if you kind of tell people to go, like you said, like if you tell them to go and sort of clear a space, but they feel that's just too much, then that's not functional, is it? Because they're never going to
No.
do it. It's about really breaking it down and understanding what the barrier is, and then working through that. And yeah, normally it's starting very very small with something they feel able to do, and then you get a bit of
Yes.
confidence, and then actually this is achievable. So then you get the sort of success momentum carries on, and you
Yeah.
kind of
People
feel
get
like
the
yeah,
reward for their efforts.
yeah,
Yeah, and they can see the progress as they make these little steps
yeah,
forward. They can see the progress, and if they can feel better and happier, like the happy space, happy face kind of
yeah,
thing that I think, then that gives them the want to feel like that more by then
yeah,
carrying on with the project. I suppose it is a project, really. Even if it's
yeah.
just one room, it's a project for people.
Yeah, even if it's just like a wardrobe or something, it's still something that it is a project, isn't it? If that just organizing their wardrobe, knowing that it's something that could help them find something they feel comfortable in wearing, and that they then might leave the house.
Yes.
That's a thing in itself, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I mean, you break it down, there's so many things that can really
Yeah.
help us feel so much better. So when
I mean, for
so
example, I was just going to say, for example, I've been working with somebody looking at wardrobes actually recently, and it's
uh
quite interesting because it's someone that maybe has a bit of difficulty with standing balance, and it's about where you position the clothes in the wardrobe so that the person can actually reach them without moving too far and
yeah,
without sort of over losing their balance. So it's all just about what that person needs and how you can adapt it and how you can position things to make that task easier, because you don't want to use all your energy up doing a basic task when you actually maybe something.
no, that's true actually, and you don't want the task which would be otherwise simple to be something that's just that little bit too difficult to undertake with people that have got maybe a physical need for something that I can reach here, there, and everywhere. But as time goes on, people might find that they're a little bit more stiff in their joints. They might find that there are life changes, how people
Yeah,
adapt from maybe, I don't know, they could be perfectly able-bodied, then in a wheelchair, how they mentally deal with that, as well as
yeah,
how they physically have to change their environment to their new way of life. Crikey, it's actually
yeah,
it really is a big subject, isn't it? Tell us how we get in
yeah.
touch with you for hints, tips, advice, because you've got a great website. Tell us all about how we can be in touch with you.
Yeah, so I've got a website called The Interior Therapist, and that's at .co.uk. You can also email me
There
at
we go.
info. Yeah, there we go. That's on
There we
there.
go. That's the one. There we
Um,
go.
yeah, and I've got an email as well at info at The Interior Therapist, and I'm also on Instagram at _ The Interior Therapist. So any of those ways, you can just drop me a message and just have a chat and see whether it's whether I can help you. I'm also writing some blogs soon that will go on my website to give some tips and advice. And I've also got a website, Accessible Interiors, which is aimed more at the sort of the people with sort of significant conditions and need more
Okay.
the adaptation type stuff. But
Well, that's where you started. So I suppose what the
yeah,
accessible interiors is where you started out for the people. I suppose, I mean, if you break it down into two categories of person, you've got the person that need the occupational
yeah,
therapy help, and then you've got the interior therapist, which is more a broad spectrum of those who want to make the changes because they just identify how, that they want to function better. They can be in touch with you.
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Got you, got you. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. You really made me think about what I should be doing this afternoon. But also, it really is a subject that's got a lot of nitty-gritty stuff about it. So, in
Yeah,
fact, if you want to go to Anna's website, do have a look. It's a really good information source about what she does and how she does it and why she does it. And of course, you can be in touch with her that way as well. But if you want to have a look at the accessible interiors, then that will maybe make you think about your particular needs and how Anna can help you. Or if you go to _ the interior therapist on Instagram, you can have a look at some amazing pictures Anna has put on there about what she's created. And you might just take inspiration from that, or it might be that you're inspired to be in touch with Anna to actually make contact and see how she can help you. But thank you. It's been fabulous. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to look at your stuff as well later, probably more for ideas, but I might just go along my worktop with my hand with a bin
yeah.
at the end. I've got about 20 basil plants over there, all in sprouting different forms. I've got deliveries from DPD. I've got half a mug of coffee over there because I accidentally made a new one, forgetting where I put that one. I'm just going to write more stuff down. But thank you.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
will
been
be
lovely
in
chatting.
touch with you after, or stay on the show and we'll chat afterwards. All right. But thank you so much. I hope everybody's found that useful. All right. And be in touch with Anna if you want to. Perfect. Right. So I think was fab. Really, Anna taking time to be with us this morning probably identifies to many of us how we can change things that can be things that we can change really easily and that we can have an impact on today. Putting your clothes away, putting your dirty dishes in the sink or in the dishwasher, sorting things out. But what I find actually helps me is if you start a job, finish the job. Kieran, my husband, calls me half a job Katie because I do half a job. But actually what could help me greatly, or probably wouldn't help him a lot, is if I do a job thoroughly from start to finish. That can help. And then you do get the reward for having finished something, rather than still it being up here with you thinking, oh, I must finish that, must do that, must do that. But yeah, I mean, I've got a lot to do in my kitchen this afternoon. I hope you don't have too much to do, or start planning how you're going to change your environment. I think that would be, well, it's a good place to start, isn't it, planning? So if whatever you're doing over the weekend, have a great weekend. Please do subscribe to Pink Salt Shed TV on YouTube. Next week, next Friday, we're going to have a talk about food, some food stuff. Don't know what food yet, but we're going to bring in some food to our lives, to our 11s on Friday next week, which is actually my son's 14th birthday. Yes. Oh God, cake. Yes, I need a cake. Right, okay, I'm on that. Another job on my to-do list. Okay, so have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you next week. Oh, wrong one. Hang on, wrong one. There we go. Pointer in the wrong place.